Lena had always lived a quiet life. She grew up on the outer rim of the galaxy, where the stars seemed far away and the sound of engines was a constant hum in the background. She was a mechanic, skilled at fixing things that seemed beyond repair. Her life had been mostly uneventful, filled with the regular tasks of maintaining ships and equipment for the people on her colony. Little did she know her life was about to change forever. The war between humans and the Corellians had been going on for years. The Corellians, a species known for their advanced technology and ruthless military strategies, had invaded human space with the goal of conquering everything in their path. For every victory the humans claimed, the Corellians seemed to have 100 victories in return. Humanity's hope was slowly fading, and the constant struggle had worn down their spirits. Many believed that the war would end with the complete destruction of the human race. But Lena never gave up. She held on to the hope that one day things would change. It was a cold morning when the message came. The transmission was short and direct. A fleet of Corellian warships had entered the human system, but this time it was different. The message indicated that one human, Lena, was to report aboard the flagship of the Corellian Empire, the Shard of Corel, for an urgent mission. There was no explanation, no reason why she, of all people, was selected. Lena had worked with the military before, but nothing like this. The thought of facing the aliens, knowing how merciless they could be, sent a shiver down her spine. But there was no choice. The message had come directly from the Corellian High Command, and she was instructed to leave immediately. The journey to the flagship was terrifying. The massive Corellian ship, floating in the darkness of space, dwarfed her small transport vessel. As Lena's ship approached, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. The alien vessel was nothing like anything she had ever seen. It was dark and sleek, shaped like a shard of glass with sharp, pointed edges that seemed to reach out into the cold expanse of space. It was an intimidating sight. Once aboard, Lena was escorted by armed Corellian soldiers through the cold, metallic corridors of the ship. She kept her head down, trying to appear as small as possible. Despite her years of dealing with the enemy in battle, this was different. This wasn't a fight for survival. This was something much more personal, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a trap. She was led to a grand chamber, far grander than any she had seen in her life. The room was filled with towering alien statues and intricate alien technology. At the far end of the room sat a throne, and on it, the Corellian queen, Xylara. Lena had heard of Xylara. She was infamous for her ruthless leadership in the war, known for her cold demeanor and her ability to defeat the greatest human military forces without mercy. Her reputation was that of a conqueror, and many humans feared her more than any other alien commander. But the woman sitting on the throne before Lena was not what she expected. Xylara's once proud posture was now slumped. Her dark, alien skin was pale in places, and her eyes, normally filled with cold intelligence, now seemed tired, almost defeated. She wore an elaborate crown, but it didn't shine like the ones Lena had seen in old war stories. It looked heavy, like a burden. The alien queen's expression was one of sadness, not anger, and her gaze met Lena's with something unexpected. Vulnerability. "Human!" Xylara's voice rang out, echoing in the cold chamber.
"You are here because I need your help." Lena didn't know how to respond. She had expected the queen to order her death or imprisonment.
But help? From a queen who had led her people to devastate entire colonies?
It didn't make sense. "I'm a mechanic," Lena said cautiously.
"What could you possibly need from me?" Xylara sighed deeply, her eyes closing briefly as if gathering strength. "The war has cost my people more than you could possibly imagine," she said, her voice quieter now. "We've been fighting for generations, and now we are broken." Lena was silent, unsure of how to react. She had heard the stories, the tales of the invincible Corellian Empire, of the powerful queen who had led her people to conquer and destroy. She had never imagined the Queen would speak of weakness. Zylara continued, her tone softer now. There are things I need fixed, things that only someone like you can repair. Ships, weapons, systems that are beyond even my most skilled engineers. Lena hesitated, but the desperation in Zylara's voice caught her attention. What happened to your people? She asked, unable to stop herself from speaking the question that had been in her mind since she entered the room.
They've lost their will to fight, Zylara answered, her voice breaking. The Corellians once believed they were destined to rule the universe.
But after the last battle, after the betrayal, we realized that our victory came at a price. And I
led them down this path. Lena stood still, processing the words.
The Corellians had always been painted as invincible, unstoppable. But now, she was seeing something different. The Queen, the one who had crushed so many human forces, was filled with regret and guilt. It was hard to believe. It was hard to reconcile the image of the ruthless Queen with the fragile being sitting before her. I can help, Lena finally said, her voice steady. I'll fix whatever you need, but I'm not doing it for you.
I'm doing it because I believe you can change.
Zylara looked at Lena, her expression unreadable. Change? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, you don't have to be the person the galaxy believes you are. You don't have to keep carrying the weight of the war alone.
There was a long pause as Zylara considered Lena's words. The silence hung heavy in the air.
Finally, Zylara spoke, her voice softer than before. You think I can change?
That I'm not worthless? Lena met her gaze, her voice strong and confident. I don't think you're worthless, Zylara.
You just need to believe that yourself.
Zylara's eyes flickered with something. Was it hope? It was hard to tell.
But for the first time, Lena saw something in the Queen's eyes that wasn't just cold calculation. There was a glimmer of something else, something more human. The days that followed Lena's arrival aboard the Shard of Corel were like nothing she had ever experienced. The immense alien ship, with its long, winding corridors and cold, metallic walls, felt almost alive. Every step Lena took seemed to echo in the silence, and the faint hum of the engines beneath her feet was a constant reminder of just how far she was from home. She was assigned quarters, simple but functional. And every morning she would be escorted back to the command center where Zylara waited. At first, Lena worked alone, silently repairing parts of the ship, fixing broken systems and engines as requested. The Corellians were efficient, but the damage done to the fleet was immense. There were countless systems that needed her attention, each one more challenging than the last. But as Lena worked, she noticed the change in the alien Queen. Zylara had always been a distant figure, her icy demeanor making it clear she was a leader first and foremost. But over the past few days, the walls between them had started to fade. Lena had never expected that she would be able to break through to someone like Zylara, someone who had commanded an empire and destroyed countless lives in her wake. But as she worked alongside the Queen, Lena began to realize something. Zylara was not the monster that humanity had painted her to be. She was just a woman, a leader who had carried the burden of her people's legacy for far too long. One afternoon, as Lena worked on repairing an engine system, Zylara approached her, her footsteps quiet and hesitant. Lena paused and looked up, surprised by the Queen's sudden presence. Zylara stood there, her hands clasped behind her back, her gaze focused on the work Lena was doing. "You're very skilled," Zylara said softly, her voice more sincere than Lena had ever heard it. Lena smiled, though it was a small one.
Thank you. I've been fixing things for as long as I can remember.
For a moment, the two women stood in silence, the hum of the engines and the quiet buzz of machinery filling the air. Zylara shifted slightly, her usual composure slipping just a little. "I've never been good at fixing things." Lena didn't respond immediately, unsure of how to reply. She had expected the Queen to talk about the ship, about repairs. But this was different. This was personal. I've been a leader for so long, Xylara continued, her voice barely above a whisper. But I've never really known how to lead. I thought I understood my people, that I knew what they needed. But it wasn't enough. Lena put down her tools, her heart heavy with the weight of Xylara's words. She had seen the queen fight in battles, heard of her tactics and her unyielding will. But hearing her speak like this was a different side of Xylara, a side that Lena hadn't expected to see.
You were leading them, Lena said gently.
You were doing what you thought was right. Xylara looked down at her hands, the weight of the truth sinking in. But it wasn't enough. I sacrificed so much, so many lives, and for what? We're losing! My people!
They're broken. Lena didn't know what to say.
She had always seen Xylara as a cold, ruthless leader, but now she was faced with the reality of a queen who was just as lost as the people she led. In that moment, Lena realized that the Corellian queen wasn't invincible. She wasn't immune to fear, guilt, or doubt. She was, in a way, just like the rest of them. I'm not sure if it's possible to fix all of this, Xylara continued, her voice trembling. I've made mistakes. I've led my people down a path of destruction, and now there's nothing left. Lena stepped closer, her voice soft but steady. You can still change.
You can still do something good. You don't have to carry all that weight alone.
Xylara looked up at her, her eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and longing. You think I can change?
Lena nodded, her gaze unwavering.
Everyone can change. Even you. The silence between them grew, but it was no longer uncomfortable. It was understanding. Xylara didn't speak for a long time, her thoughts seemingly distant. But then, she finally spoke, her voice softer than before. I used to believe in the strength of my people. I thought that if I could crush my enemies, if I could show them how powerful we were, it would make us stronger. But now, Xylara hesitated, her throat tight. I've lost everything. My people are falling apart, and I don't know how to stop it. Lena took a deep breath, trying to choose her words carefully. Maybe you don't have to fix everything by yourself. Maybe it's not about strength. Maybe it's about finding something worth fighting for, something beyond power.
Xylara looked at her with confusion, but Lena could see the flicker of curiosity in her eyes. What do you mean? Lena hesitated for a moment before answering.
But have you ever fought for something else? Something more personal? Something that makes you feel like you're more than just a ruler? More than just a queen?
Xylara's brow furrowed. I don't understand. Lena smiled gently, her voice filled with compassion.
You're not just a queen, Xylara. You're more than that. You don't have to be defined by your crown, by the title you hold. You can be something else, someone who inspires hope, not fear. Xylara looked down at her hands again, her fingers trembling slightly. I don't know if I'm capable of that. I've spent so many years believing that my power was the only thing that mattered.
Lena stepped closer, her voice unwavering. It's never too late. You can start by showing your people that they're not worthless.
That they matter. That they're not just tools for war. Xylara was quiet for a long time. The hum of the engines seemed to fade as the weight of Lena's words sank in. The queen's shoulders slumped slightly, as if a burden had been lifted, even just for a moment.
I don't know how to begin, Xylara admitted softly.
Lena smiled, the warmth in her expression genuine. It starts small. It starts with showing them you care. You don't need to fix everything all at once.
You just need to start somewhere. The queen stared at Lena for a long time, the emotions swirling in her gaze.
And for the first time, Lena saw something in Xylara's eyes that she hadn't seen before. Hope.
I'll try, Xylara whispered, her voice barely audible.
I'll try.